Hello, crime lovers. Welcome to another episode of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale, where I break down crimes that shocked America. Over the last couple of weeks, we talked about crimes that involved a gun or a mass shooting. But this week and next week, we're going to talk about another deadly weapon that can be used to commit a murder. And we're going to talk about stabbings. Stabbings are another type of murder that happen all around the world, and they're most popular in the United Kingdom, Canada, but they still happen in the United States of America as well. So I figured it would be another interesting crime to talk about because, as a lot of people think that most murders are done by guns, knives do play a role in a lot of murders as well, and they still happen here in 2022. So today we're going to talk about a murder that happened in a small town in New Jersey. This week's crime case took place outside of an Italian American deli in New Jersey where 57-year-old Jerome Pastore was stabbed to death after he caught the suspect stealing the tip jar. Now, Jerome Pastore was the owner of the deli, and he was killed by somebody that was applying for a job at the Shamrock Deli in New Jersey, which is an Italian American deli. And we're going to find out what led to the 18-year-old stealing the tip jar and the 18-year-old eventually killing the owner. This is a very, very sad situation and a hard crime to talk about. It happened right at the start of a new decade. Friday, January 3rd, 2020. And Jerome had just purchased the Shamrock Deli in 2018. So it was only 2 years of him having a deli that he had to deal with this horrible situation. So after I discuss the crime, I'm going to share my thoughts on the crime. And then I'm going to tell you what to do if you ever find yourself in a fight with someone that has a knife. And then I will tell you what to do if you ever come across somebody that has been stabbed, because stabbings are still popular and they still happen frequently. So if you have any thoughts you want to share on this case, please feel free to post them in the comments on today's video, and I will react to your comments. So without further ado, let's dive right into the case. So today's crime case focuses on 57-year-old Jerome Pastore, who is the guy in the chef coat. The first picture you see there is the victim, and that is Jerome Pastore. He is 57 years old. He is a chef and the owner of the Shamrock Deli in New Jersey. And the black guy is the 18-year-old perpetrator and the 18-year-old suspect with the last name of Williams. He was applying for a job at the Shamrock Deli, and he came to the deli very frequently to check on the status of his application. And he got heated on the last visit when Jerome told him he hasn't had a chance to look at his application, and it all went downhill from there. So here is what to know about the case. And we're going to start with the victim, Jerome Pastore. He was a 57-year-old chef. Jerome loved to cook. He loved cooking for his friends, his family, and his customers. Now, me being a fellow chef and I loving to cook and bake as well, I sympathize with Pastore's family after having to lose a beloved chef in the small town of New Jersey where Jerome lived. He was an amazing cook from what I hear, in a great part of the community of that New Jersey town. So Jerome Pastore is our victim in today's crime case. And as I said, he was a 57-year-old chef. He was described as a friendly person who would do anything to help people in need. He bought the Shamrock Deli in 2018 to continue his lifelong journey of owning a restaurant and being a great chef. He loved owning the deli, and he loved coming to work every day to prepare fresh food for his customers. He was the father of 5, 3 girls and 2 boys. He was raised in Voorhees, New Jersey. Jared inherited a love of bringing people together over a good meal from his beloved mother, Anne. And that is a tradition that Italians follow. And I think Jerome was Italian, I can tell by his last name. He pursued a fruitful career in the restaurant industry for the past 4 decades, teaching others how to cook, helping friends run their businesses, and mentoring his colleagues, many of whom became his lifelong friends. In 2018, he pursued his passion and dream of entrepreneurship and became the owner-operator of Shamrock Deli, where he was pleased to greet customers and serve delicious, great food. He loved and appreciated his employees and customers and took great pride in making them feel at home. Outside of work, Jerome enjoyed fishing, golfing, gardening, working in his yard while enjoying a cigarette and just having a good time with the people he loved. There are so many people he touched in big ways and small ways, whether it was giving you something he had that you needed or sending you a text because he was thinking about you. So a really kind-hearted person was taken from us, from somebody that was very evil and was a very sick individual. So that was the victim in this case. And it's always hard to talk about a victim when you're talking about a murder case because it makes you feel bad for that person's family. But now we're going to talk about the lowlife, the perpetrator. So now let's learn about the suspect, the perpetrator. And the perpetrator's name is Dyheam Williams. Dyheam Williams is an 18-year-old African American man. And this is what Dyheam Williams looked like in court after he killed 57-year-old Jerome Pastore outside of his own deli. I don't understand why you would kill somebody simply because they told you he had not looked at your application yet. And I don't know why you would steal a tip jar. That is below the lowest standards. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on in today's show. Anyone that kills, steals, and runs deserves the most, what's the word I'm looking for? They deserve the most serious punishment that they can get. And hopefully this guy gets the death penalty. Not only did he ruin a great small town, he ruined Jerome's family. They'll never see that great chef again. And he ruined people's trust in that small town of New Jersey. So let's learn about the perpetrator, and then we'll get right into the crime. So Dyheam Williams was 18 years old. He had applied for a job at the deli. He had stopped in several times throughout the month of December of 2019 to check on the status of the application. And I guess he got frustrated because they hadn't had the time to look at the application yet. That is what to know about this case. Let's talk about the crime right now. So here is the crime. The crime took place on Friday, January 3rd, 2020, just 3 days into the new decade and 3 days into the new year. And let me tell you, from a person who's actually worked in the restaurant industry, the new year, especially 3 days into the new year, is still a pretty busy time for the restaurant business, especially a deli and a bakery. After having to finish the Thanksgiving rush, you move on to Christmas and you deal with the Christmas rush. And then when the Christmas rush is done, you deal with the New Year's rush. And when New Year's is over and you're settling into the new year, then you refocus and worry about the Super Bowl. But usually the first week of the new year, you don't have that many employees on, and often it's only the owner and like the best behaved and the best workers that are working. But still, it can still be pretty busy because a lot of people after Christmas and after New Year, they don't want to cook right away, so they'll go out to eat or they'll go to a deli. So I imagined that Jerome and his staff had not had the opportunity to look over the application that Dyheam Williams put in. Nonetheless, there is no excuses for what Dyheam did. Let's learn about this crime right now. So on Friday, January 3rd of 2020, Dyheam Williams walked into the deli to check on his job application and see where it was at. He wanted to see if he was getting hired, and he wanted to see what Jerome thought of Dyheam. So Jerome had told Dyheam that he has yet to review his application and make a decision yet. And somehow, for some reason, Dyheam got angry and had words with Jerome. So they had a brief conversation and a brief confrontation ensued. So after they argued for a few minutes, Dyheam took it upon himself to steal the tip jar and bolt out the deli door. So not only did he have a confrontation with Jerome in a busy restaurant, but he decided to become a thief and steal the tip jar. Anybody that steals tips from restaurant employees is a low life, in my opinion. You are a scum. You are a scum of the earth if you feel the need that you've got to steal tips from food service industry workers. Oftentimes, food service industry workers don't get paid much, and those tips can help them. And honestly, those tips are usually never more than $20 or $30. So I don't know why you would want to steal tips. But like I said, if you have to steal from restaurant workers, you are a scumbag, you are a loser, and you are a maggot. There is no possible explanation for doing that other than he probably was trying to get marijuana, drugs, or other illegal activity by stealing that tip jar. So anyway, after Jerome had seen that he stole the tip jar after arguing with Dyheam, Jerome chased him and eventually caught up to him. A fight ensued with Jerome and Dyheam fighting over the tip jar. There was only $10 or $20 in the tip jar. So the detectives in this case said there was around $10 to $20 in the tip jar. So we can assume that there probably was about maybe $15 to $17 in there, would probably be the best guess. However, there really is no need to kill somebody over a tip jar that has $15 to $17 in it, or in the range of $10 to $20. During the encounter, Dyheam pulled out a knife and stabbed Jerome almost a dozen times. He stabbed him 11 times to be exact. That, my friends, is not an accident. If you stab somebody more than 5 times, in my book, it is on purpose. This was a murder in my book, and I believe it was calculated. I believe he went there with the intention of killing Jerome. You cannot, in my eyes, claim self-defense here, because Jerome was simply just trying to take the tip jar back. And Dyheam is the one that pulled out a deadly weapon and plunged it into Jerome's body and murdered a man over a tip jar that he stole. How sick. Anyway, Jerome had been stabbed in the neck, abdomen, and lower back. He was fatally wounded, unfortunately, and a great man was lost due to the actions of an ignorant scumbag by the name of Dyheam Williams. So after stabbing this man to death, Dyheam took off on his orange bike with the tips and the money in the tip jar, the lowest of all lows, a scumbag. I mean, not only did he physically hurt somebody, he murdered somebody, but he's still worried about the tip jar. He came back and got it and left. A very, very sick individual. People ran to assist aid to Jerome, who was found in a pool of blood. I imagine it was a very frightening scene. People were surprised and not sure what happened. There were many 911 calls, and 911 had reports of a stabbing, they had reports of a car accident, and they had reports of somebody that was unconscious in a pool of blood. So imagine being all the 911 operators, and you've got all these calls coming in the same spot outside of the Shamrock Deli in a small town in New Jersey. So that 911 dispatch is wondering what's going on. Is there a stabbing? Is there a car accident? Or is there both? And there's someone that is down in a pool of blood. But luckily, there were witnesses to what actually happened, and they all identified Dyheam Williams as the suspect. So there was no way that Dyheam was going to shimmy his way out of this one. But sadly and unfortunately, Jerome's wounds were too fatal. He died minutes later on the way to the hospital. Very, very sad case. And I would like to wish my thoughts and prayers to Jerome's family. I know it's only about 2 years after the horrific crime, and I know that 2020 and 2021 have been horrible years with the pandemic, but losing the owner of the Shamrock Deli had to hit that small town of New Jersey even harder. So my thoughts and prayers are with the victims, family, and everybody that lost a great friend over something so stupid as a tip jar. The restaurant closed for that weekend and then reopened the following Monday, although with shortened hours to mourn the loss of Jerome Pastore. Dyheam Williams was arrested on Sunday, January 5th, 2020, and he was charged with murder and possession of a deadly weapon. Now, I haven't really been following this case, so I don't really know if he has been sentenced yet and what his sentence is. But if it hasn't happened yet, I definitely want Dyheam Williams to either get life in prison or the death penalty. If you take the life of any person, in my eyes, you deserve to either spend life in prison or die, just like the victim that you killed. Jerome had no chance of living after Dyheam stuck the knife in his neck, his abdomen, and his lower back. He didn't do it once. He didn't do it 2 times. He didn't do it 3 times or even 5 times. He did it 11 times. That is premeditated, and he deserves to rot in prison and have the death penalty. That is pure evil right there, folks. A crime of passion, a petty crime at the least, because he thought he was going to get away with $20 in stabbing somebody. But hopefully the American justice system will deliver a sentence that is fitting for this crime. So now I'm going to share my thoughts on this particular crime. You know, this is a really, really sad crime. Somebody that is very passionate about cooking, somebody that is a great fit in the community, that loves showing off his delicious cooking, and somebody that was a nice individual, lost their life to a young man who was a crook, a young man who was a thief, and a young man that did not care about anyone but himself. Because if he cared, he would have never pulled out a knife and stabbed Jerome. There really was no need to do that. He could have just took off with his bike, with the tip jar, and sped as fast as he could away from the deli. But no, he decided to be a gutless coward. And anyone that pulls out a gun or a knife to do harm on somebody is a gutless coward unless it is in self-defense. And this was not self-defense, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to steal from somebody and you know that person's going to fight back for their property, they have every right to try and get their property back, especially if you steal it in front of them. So luckily for Jerome, there were witnesses. The sad thing is, though, Jerome is no longer with us to tell us his side of the story. I don't know what Dyheam Williams' true intentions were. I don't know if he really wanted a job. I don't know what led in his mind to think, oh, tip jar, let me steal that, and then bolt out the door. And I don't know what led him to stabbing and killing the owner of this deli. But what I do know is his actions were cowardly and his actions were very evil. And because of his actions, 5 people are without a father, and a wife is without a husband, and a mother and father are without their son. It is very, very devastating to that family, and I offer my sincere thoughts and prayers to that family, and I hope that they can find closure. And I know that this is a recent case, so hopefully Dyheam Williams will be sentenced really soon. And like I said, I'm praying he gets the maximum sentence possible for the death of Jerome Pastore. Like I said, life in prison or the death penalty. But most likely it'll be life in prison, since I can almost guarantee that his defense is going to argue that it was self-defense. In reality, we all know it was not self-defense, because Jerome was just trying to get his tip jar back from his employees. Anybody that steals from hard-working employees is a scumbag. And that's where I'm going to end my thoughts on this particular crime. It doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me, because people like Dyheam steal every day. There are a lot of thieves out there that steal, and most of these thieves, when they get caught, they have no choice but to react, and sometimes that results in homicides, it results in murders, someone getting shot, or someone getting killed. It's a very, very sick world that we live in, and it's a very, very sad world that we live in as well. All right, so something a little different on this week's episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale. I'm going to introduce 2 topics that fit in with this crime. The first topic that I'm going to talk about is how to prevent being stabbed. And then I'm going to talk about what to do if you see someone that is stabbed, or what to do if you are stabbed and there's someone around that can help you, what you can tell them what to do. So let's start with how to prevent being stabbed. Let's say someone with a knife is coming in front of you. Here is what to do and how to prevent being stabbed. The first thing to know is that knives can cause more damage than a gun and are much easier to get a hold of. People could just go to their kitchen and pick up the kitchen knife. When dealing with a knife attack, you'll want to stay calm, be rational, and defend yourself if needed. Stay calm. If an attacker approaches you, you need to stay calm. Any sudden moves or actions may startle them and escalate the violence. Take deep breaths as you size each other up to stay relaxed and focused. Size up your attacker. There are different types of attackers, and they are all motivated for many different reasons. The person may be a mugger or a criminal looking for something fun to do by harassing you. It's also quite possible that they could be a sex offender, or they could be mentally unstable or under the influence of drugs or alcohol. You may have caught them in the act of some other crime, and now they feel the need to get rid of you. Either way, try to figure out what kind of person you're dealing with. Ask them what they want. Engaging with the person and talking to them may help. Ask them why they are attacking you and if there's anything that you can do to prevent the attack. If they are a mugger, they will ask for your valuables. This will be easy enough to deal with. All you have to do is give up your things. While it may be hard to part with some of your valuables, it will be worth your life. Phones and jewelry can be replaced, but your life and health cannot. If the person is looking to pick a fight, let them know that you have no interest in violence. If they are especially menacing or threatening, talking may not be an option, but try it anyway. If the person seems mentally unstable or under the influence of a substance, they will be far too predictable. They will be far too unpredictable for you to deal with. These are often the most dangerous kind of attackers because it's very hard to judge what they're going to do next. Try talking to them in a calm, soothing voice while backing away. Yell for help. If you are in a public place where others may be able to help you, yell for help. Often people on a city street or a parking lot may not realize that you're in trouble unless you make it very obvious. Yell stop or someone help me. Use your voice to make it clear that you're in trouble and someone may come to your aid. If you're in a more remote location like a hiking trail or an empty field, try yelling anyway. While you may not be able to see anyone nearby, people may be close enough that they'll be able to tell that something is wrong. If you hike often and are afraid of being attacked, carry a loud whistle. The sound will carry further than your voice alone. Feel free to scream for help and or call 911 because both are just like yelling for help. Run away if possible. The best way to defend against a knife attack is to run. Even if you know martial arts disarming tricks or you are very strong, a knife is still an unpredictable and deadly weapon. Running may seem cowardly, but it is your best chance of survival. Make an opening to run. If you are attacked by a person with a knife, you should always try to run before fighting. Often, however, you may seem stuck. You may be cornered or your attacker may be blocking your only exit. You'll need to disable your attacker to create an opening to run away. Strike at your attacker's throat. Going for the throat is one of the best ways to disable an attacker. I agree with this, but there's another method that I think is a little bit more deadly if it's a male attacker. But if it's a female attacker, the throat is the best choice. With a hard strike to the throat, you'll damage the person's trachea, disrupting their breathing. They're very likely to stop attacking you after a hard strike to the throat. Get close enough to strike. If your attacker isn't close enough for you to strike at their throat, move in a bit. You'll want to be arm's width away. Use your elbow and forearm. The harder the part of your body that you use to strike, the more effective and painful your attack will be. Your elbow is solid bone, and you'll be able to get a lot of power by striking forward with it. Push through their throat. Using your elbow as your weapon, strike your attacker's throat. Strike as hard and as fast as you can, using the element of surprise to your advantage. Run. If you struck your attacker hard enough, then they'll lose their ability to breathe. When they double over, run away. Now, this next method of defending yourself against a knife is my method. I probably would use this. Again, if I couldn't do that, then I would use the throat method. But if your attacker is male, kick their groin. A kick to the groin may immediately incapacitate them. Use your knee or shin to strike them in the crotch to create an opening to run. This technique can work with a variety of distances between you and your attacker. If you're close to your attacker, use your knee. A shorter distance between you and the person attacking you means that a knee will be sufficient enough to make a connection. Force your knee hard into their groin. If you are an arm's length away from you, use your foot or shin. Use your shin is better because there's more surface area to cause more damage. Extend your knee and snap your leg into their crotch. Run. Once your attacker is doubled over on the ground, run away as fast as possible. Or you could attack your attacker's eyes. The eyes are an incredibly sensitive part of the body, and any attack focused on the eyes is sure to cause your attacker a lot of pain. But you're only going to want to do this if your attacker is very close, such as in situations where they grabbed you and they have you in a hold, like they grabbed you by the neck and knife is like next to your chest. That would be the perfect opportunity to put your thumb in their eye. Keep in mind that this technique is extremely dangerous and can be gory, and should only be used in life or death situations. Extend your fingers to reach their eyes. Most people flinch instantly when they see an attack directed at their eyes. So you'll have to move very quickly. Snap your arm out towards the face in one swift motion. Press your fingers hard into the eye socket. Simply scratching or light pushing will not be effective. These light attacks will cause pain, but may only further enrage your attacker. You'll need to use your fingers to push hard into the eyes, pressing them into the skull. Damn, that sounds painful. Push down. As you push your attacker's eyes, press them down towards the base of the skull. Again, this technique is not for the faint of heart, and it should only be used in the most dire of circumstances, because it could cause blindness and even death. Run. Once your attacker is incapacitated or unconscious, run away. And that is how you can prevent being stabbed if somebody pulls a knife out towards you. Now, there are 3 steps to do and 3 things to know if you've been stabbed. What to do if you are stabbed, or if your beloved friend or a loved one is stabbed. If someone's breaking in your house and they have a knife and someone you love is stabbed, here's what to do. There are 3 simple steps to help someone who's been stabbed. Put pressure on the wound. Call 911 and keep pressure on the wound. What if there is an object in the wound? Sometimes people will stab so hard that the knife gets stuck in the person's body. So if there is an object in the wound, don't remove it, as this could make the bleeding a lot worse. Apply pressure around it. The person looks pale, feels cold, and dizzy. What does this mean? This means there isn't enough blood flowing through the body. This physical response to an injury is called shock, and it could be life-threatening. If you suspect someone is going into shock, continue to apply pressure to the wound to stop the blood coming out. Call 911 if you haven't already done so. Lie them down and lift their feet higher than the rest of their body. This keeps their legs higher than their heart, which helps increase blood flow to the brain and heart. Reassure them and wrap them in coats or a blanket to keep them warm. Keep pressure on the wound until an ambulance arrives. And that is what to do if you are stabbed or if someone around you is stabbed. All right. And that is this week's episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale. My thoughts and prayers to Jerome Pastore and his family and everybody that is a victim of a stabbing from a knife wielding suspect. You know, I don't know if I would rather be shot or stabbed if I ever was going to be murdered, but let's hope that I'll never have to deal with either of them, because they're both awful ways to go out in this world. I don't know if we want to die from a gunshot or a knife wound, but let's hope that me or any of my viewers will never, ever have to worry about that. So I want to thank all my crime detectives and my crime lovers for tuning into today's episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale. Next Monday, next week, I'm going to talk about the erotic stabbing death of American radio personality George Weber. Find out how a Craigslist ad for sex turned out to be George Weber's final downfall and how it led to George Weber's death. I'm calling it the erotic stabbing death of American radio personality George Weber, and that'll air Monday, March 21st, 2022 at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale. So that's going to be an interesting case to discuss and also another tough case to discuss. All right, detectives, thank you so much for tuning in to today's YouTube video and today's crime case. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are a new viewer for more awesome crime videos, wrestling videos, aquarium videos, and more. Subscribe to the legendary Alex Cardinale YouTube channel. Detective Alex Cardinale saying thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week. Stay safe and don't commit any crimes. Peace out, my folks. May the luck of the Irish be with me, and may the luck of the Irish be with you. Legendary Alex Cardinale here, inviting you to be a part of my St. Patrick's Day 2022 celebration bash. The St. Patrick's Day bash airs next Thursday, March 17th, 2022 at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. While I may not be Irish, I sure love celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and for the first time, I will celebrate it on my YouTube channel. Chef Alex will be on the St. Patrick's Day celebration. Chef Alex will show you how to make a green velvet cake. Green is the perfect color for St. Patrick's Day. I'll show you how to make a green velvet cake with the cream cheese icing. Green velvet, very similar to red velvet, a vanilla chocolate mixture cake with cream cheese icing. Aqua Alex will also make an appearance on the St. Patrick's Day bash. Aqua Alex will discuss fish that represent St. Patrick's Day, such as green phantom flecos, sebrums, and more. And legendary Alex Cardinale will have a couple of cold ones on the St. Patrick's Day bash. You can't have an Irish celebration without some alcohol. So for the first time on my live stream history, I'll have a couple cold ones with all of you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Top of the morning to you. And may the luck of the Irish be with you and me. Next Thursday, March 17th, 2022, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, celebrate St. Patrick's Day on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale.